culture has made it where women have a permission to express their feelings, permission to sometimes express weakness, and it's seen as a strength. Like, wow, I'm so proud of you. For example, women constitute 75% of those who seek professional help to prevent suicide. Men constitute 75% of those who commit suicide. For women, it's like asking for help is a source of strength. For men, it's kind of, wait, you're asking for help? That kind of makes a man look weaker. Because as guys, we've been taught that you're a human doing. You're not a human being. That your value is set on what you do, what you provide, how you protect. It's all on what you do. Girls understand, baby, it's all about you. I mean, if he doesn't love you for who you are, you should not accept him. That's a great principle. But do we tell the same to the guys? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Andrew and Ramon Show. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for connecting. Thank you for plugging in those headphones, watching on YouTube, following on podcasts, everywhere. Hey, if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow me at the Andrew Ramon Show on Instagram. Daily content, super great BTS behind the scenes. Okay, look, I'm not gonna pump it up. It is pretty cool, and you just have daily content there, little clips, things for you to share. Tell a friend about it. Don't forget, we got over 90 episodes in this show. That's right. Love, money, school, politics, culture, faith, motivation, self-help. We got the whole thing. That's all I'm going to say. We got the whole thing. We got some great, amazing guests. We have, I think it's over 7 or 8 like success story interviews. It's amazing. Catch the newest one where I talk with Carla de la Femina, co-host of the Gutsy Faith podcast. Great podcast. I know you will take away something great from our conversation. Well, today, folks, it's going to get serious. I'm going to be honest with you straight up. No, the title is not clickbait. It's not. I'm not a clickbait type of person. I'm not going to say like, Andrew almost died. And I just stubbed my toes. Like, okay, chill. I didn't almost die. No. The title is not, in fact, clickbait. We have a serious problem in our society. We have a boy crisis. It's a crisis that is not really talked about, unfortunately. And in fact, before I read this book I will show you right now, I wasn't aware of the gravity of the situation. Now, you might be wondering, as I was, boy crisis? What the heck's a boy crisis? Well, glad you asked, my man. The Boy Crisis by Dr. Warren Farrell and Dr. John Gray. It is worth the read. It is a fantastic book that talks about, in fact, the crisis of boys. The boy crisis, why our boys are struggling and what we can do about it. This whole episode is going to be intense. It's going to go deep. It's going to be a little bit heart-wrenching because we're going to talk about our men's treatment by culture and really just by society at large, and some of the negative things that are going on right now among men and how it's affecting them, how it's a crisis, but what we can do about it. So I want you to stick with me so we can find the solution together. All this information is based on the book, so if you want to learn more, definitely read it. We have to understand something. Whenever there's a talk about men and culture, unfortunately, it's negative. Using terms like toxic masculinity, the patriarchy, rape culture, mansplaining. We heard that one a lot, right? Don't you mansplain over me. Being oppressive, misogynist. I mean, in TV shows, men are either as dumb do-nothings, creepy, stocky dudes, womanizers, jerks, and the only normal guy at the end turns out to be gay. You're just like, man, is that really like, that's men right there. They're either jerks, they're do-nothings, they're just weak guys that always take kind of like the background, right? Because now most of movies right now, the main protagonist is this tough woman and the guy's just behind doing nothing, and he's first time on the job apparently, or he's just a jerk, or he just turns out to be gay, and you're just like, man, is that it? It's actually kind of created a culture has created like a limbo. Where if you're just a traditional man with traditional values and you're just like, yeah, I want to be a gentleman and I want to open the door for a woman, it's like, excuse me, sir, did you just open the door for a woman? Are you a misogynist? Huh? Are you thinking of a woman as less as you? Bro, chill, bro. I was just opening the door but here's the thing. Girls, can I just tell you something? Like, from a guy, like, help us out here. We're trying to be like Like, we're just trying to be a gentleman. We want to open the door for you. If you're ever on a date, guys are like, well, I think a guy should pay at least on the first date. But women are like, how dare you? Do you not think I don't make enough to pay for myself? You're like, man, really? Like, but that's even how culture paints guys, right? As like either misogynist if you're too traditional, or if you're more sensitive, you're just gay. Like, you must be. This isn't always what happens, but I can't be the only one that's paying attention to culture's treatment of men. Even Disney, every dad in most of the Disney movies are always useless. I mean, they're super dumb. Like in the newest movie that I've seen, Luca, great movie, got nothing against it. But man, that dad be dumb, bro. He doesn't even care. He doesn't even know where he is. It's always the mom that's kind of leading the whole family, and the dad's just in the background because this guy's just useless. This is the conversation surrounding guys in our culture, unfortunately. And this is where the crisis is. I'm going to read some startling facts because unfortunately, culture has thrown men to the wayside. Because there was a time when we needed to focus a lot on women, because we had to focus on women's rights. We had to focus on make sure they were valuable for who they are, not just their body, that they were accepted in the workplace. Great. That work has been tough, and we've done it. We've come a long way. Amazing. And actually, Dr. Warren Farrell was the only man to be selected to be on the board of directors of the National Organization of Women. So if someone knows about that, is Dr. Farrell. Yet he wrote a whole book called The Boy Crisis because he understood that now we've overcompensated and we've thrown guys to the wayside, and no one seems to care too much because we don't understand that there's a crisis. I didn't understand it either until I read this book. I'm going to read to you some startling facts, and if you stick with me, we can discover the solution together. The National Academy of Sciences reports that the increase in suicide among white males led to as many white males lost to suicide as have been lost to AIDS. What? ¿Qué dijo? To AIDS. We're talking about that's how much the suicide rate is going up. More black boys between 10 and 20 are killed by homicide than by the next 9 leading causes of death combined. If that's not enough to worry you, I don't know what is. Let's go deeper into some of the statistics about suicide because it's going to blow your mind. Between 10 years of age to 14 years of age, boys commit suicide almost twice the rate of girls. Twice the rate of girls. Between 15 and 19, you're talking about a high school kid here, they commit suicide 4 times the rate of girls. Have you heard this before? I know I didn't. Between the ages of 20 to 24, that's my age gap, my age range, they commit suicide 5 to 6 times the rate of females. Have you ever heard that? Is that ever on the news? No, it's not. I didn't know that was ever happening. And usually any help with suicide prevention or help with counseling or depression is made acceptable for girls. Because girls are seen as, oh, well, girls are emotional or whatever, and they need help. Great. I think that's awesome. We should help girls, definitely. But the dudes over here committing suicide like 5 times the rate of females, but seem to get almost no attention. Andrew, you might say, you're overreacting. Read The Boy Crisis. I'm not overreacting. Now, I do have to say something because I feel like someone's going to come at me and say, Andrew, are you saying that girls don't go through anything? Whoa, slow down. Of course they do. Of course they do. And I think as a culture, we've understood that and we're reaching out to help. Unfortunately, as we're seeing as we go through this crisis, boys aren't necessarily getting that help, but I want to help you. And there is help here for you. So if you're a girl right now and you're like, this is all about boys, I don't want to listen to those, hold up, because at some point you either have, you have a brother or you have a dad to help him, or you're going to maybe have a boyfriend, or you're going to have kids. So this episode's for everybody. The prison population is made up of 90% men. If that's not a crisis, I don't know what is. Usually the statistic that's used to make like a race argument is like, well, most of the prison population is black. So racism, without any context or anything like that. No one's ever called sexism when 90% of prison population is male. I'm not saying that we should call sexism. I'm just saying we should look at what's going on with men that is causing that such a high percentage. The physical health of boys is also in danger. So much leading a director of the Center of Evolution and Medicine at Arizona State University to say being male is now the single largest demographic factor for early death. The single largest factor for early death. Now, before you say it's because men be dumb, bro. Like, have you seen those pictures of how men sometimes do work? Like, one guy's holding the ladder, like, on his legs or something, and the other dude is, like, 2 ladders attached, and, like, there's no way that guy's not gonna fall. Okay, I do admit, men, we could be kind of dumb sometimes. No question about that. No question. But is that really the only reason? Not really. Here's what's going on. Sons, husbands, fathers, they all die at a younger age from 14 out of the 15 leading causes of death. 14 out of 15. That's crazy. Includes heart diseases, cancers, accidents, Alzheimer's. In fact, more startling is every day 150 workers die from hazardous working conditions, and 92% of them are male. Now you're like, hazardous working conditions, what do you mean? Let me bring it home to you because I didn't really understand what that meant until I read this great explanation. Your house right now that you live in is built by multiple hazardous professions. It's a result of it. In fact, the wood that surrounds your house and makes up your house is likely began its journey with young lumberjacks risking their lives as loggers. Then those trees were then hauled off by long-distance truckers, another hazardous profession. On their way, they stopped for fuel that was extracted by other men who had to risk their lives on oil rig. Yeah. And then that wood was then taken to the property where it was then ultimately used by contractors, workers, and roofers who in the U.S. die at a rate of 1 per working hour. Yeah. So before you just keep on complaining on how this country is, take a step back because I think some gratitude is in order of the basic things that we sometimes don't understand, we take for granted. The crisis doesn't stop there, guys. While the rate of obesity among adolescent girls has stabilized, the rate of boys' obesity is increasing. In fact, 1/3 of young men are not fit for military service, owing to obesity, physical problems, or other mental problems. 1/3 are not fit for military service. Financially speaking, guys got a problem too. Over the last 40 years, the median annual earning of a boy with just a high school diploma dropped 26%. The crazy fact is that single women are now buying their own homes at 2.5 times the rate of single men. Girls, y'all go for it, man. Keep buying those houses. Boys, where we at? Is it just that girls are just like dramatically just better than boys and guys are just kind of falling behind? No, is that there's actually a crisis going on for boys. Not only are boys suffering economically, also educationally. Like worldwide, reading and writing skills are considered the 2 biggest predictors of success. They're also the 2 areas in which boys fall the most behind girls. In the US, by 8th grade, 41% of girls are at least proficient in writing and in reading, while only 20% of boys are. 20%. Young men have gone from making up 61% of college degree recipients to a projected 39%. Girls are now the reverse. They're now going to be projected to be 61%. Great for girls. What's going on with the guys? Since 1980, there's a 71% increase of boys who said they didn't like school. They're expelled 3 times the rate of girls. Why is this a problem? Because it affects the dropout, left out cycle. Because even in the love life, for example, women rank education nowadays as 4th most important attribute to someone, to their partner. In the 1930s, it was like 11th. Now it's 4th. So if my boy drops out, if my boy ain't educated, if my boy ain't financially stable, it's going to be a problem. It's what's called the dropout, left out cycle. Number 1, in neighborhoods where marriage is scarce, fathers are scarce. And more than half of the boys don't even finish high school. So the boy drops out. Because the boy drops out, he has less education as a young man, and now he's more likely to be unemployed. He's left out of the workplace. Not only did he drop out, now he's out of the workplace. Women who desire children and want a family think of an uneducated young man as undesirable. Unemployed man as another child. Hardly marriage material. So what? He's left out of marriage, and now he's left out of fathering. That doesn't mean that those guys don't just go around sleeping around with other women. Now they leave them pregnant, and then now they raise children without him, and we're back to square one, where we have fatherless homes. Why is this important? Because we have a crisis. We have a purpose problem. even, not only financially, educationally, physically. We have now a purpose problem. There's a lack of what's called ikigai, what the Japanese call a reason for being. You see, for your grandpa as well as my grandpa, being a man was straightforward. You serve and you protect. You provide for your family. You are the breadwinner. Done deal. Your dad, in fact, learned to love his family by being away from the love of his family. If you love your family, you're going to provide, even if that means not being home, even if that means long trips, even if that means risking your life in hazardous jobs, you're going to provide for your family. Point blank. That was it. My generation grows up and there's a limbo because not only are you just like, oh, well, you're going to be the sole breadwinner? How dare you? Do you believe that women can't work? It's like, no, that's cool. They can work. Oh, wait, now you can't work, but you're not really accepted at the house as a dad because women are automatically the better mothers. They're the better parents because they're mothers, and dads are kind of dumb and they don't know, and they got to catch up. They got to be educated. So guys aren't even accepted really in the workplace because now you're seen as like the only sole breadwinner. How dare you? But then you can't really be at home because you're a dad and you don't know much and you're kind of dumb. It doesn't have to be that way. So what's the solution to this crisis? I was overwhelmed learning about this crisis, to be honest with you. Maybe it sounded like I was going kind of fast through all the facts. So I encourage you to buy this book called The Boy Crisis, where you're going to learn more about it and more practical solutions. The first thing is to care. We got to care that this goes on. My heart breaks by how really guys, including myself, but really guys in general, are treated by culture. We're just thrown away to the wayside, seen as oppressive, seen as mansplaining, seen as privileged automatically, seen as really there's no big hardship. But when I read all this, it broke my heart that there's young men out there who believe that they have no purpose, that they have no place in life, and then they take their life 5 to 6 times the rate of girls. We have to care. We have to maybe ask the question of, how are you doing? Because men's facade of strength is a weakness. There are times when we're not okay. Girls, I'm going to give you permission to ask your bro, to ask your boyfriend, to ask a guy in your life, how are you? Because men usually kind of get quiet when they're not good. Girls kind of maybe have their girlfriends or whatever, but men tend to isolate even more. It's okay not to be okay sometimes. Culture has made it where women have a permission to express their feelings, permission to sometimes express weakness, and it's seen as a strength. Like, wow, I'm so proud of you. For example, women constitute 75% of those who seek professional help to prevent suicide. Men constitute 75% of those who commit suicide. For women, it's like asking for help is a source of strength. For men, it's kind of, wait, you're asking for help? That kind of makes a man look weaker. Both men can believe those lies and culture can promulgate those lies. Women attempt suicide more frequently, but men commit it more. This is tragic for both. If you attempt suicide or if you commit it, it is a tragedy. But I want us to dive into this difference, because maybe this is going to get to the crux of the matter. The person who attempts suicide usually believes that someone cares enough to help and knows how to help. It is a way of pleading for those who love her to pay attention, to move her pain from the back of the burner of their lives to the very front. In contrast, a boy or a man who commits suicide generally believes, usually mistaken, that no one cares enough to help, especially no one who really knew him specifically. You see, there are about 4 things that one believes. That no one loves him who knows who he really is, both his best and his worst self. That no one really needs him anymore. That there's no hope in that changing. And if he shares how he's feeling, he's going to be ashamed. Or whoever he talks to will lose respect for him, which will only increase his shame. Because as guys, we've been taught that you're a human doing. You're not a human being. That your value is set on what you do. What you provide, how you protect, it's all on what you do. Girls understand, baby, it's all about you. I mean, if he doesn't love you for who you are, you should not accept him. That's a great principle. But do we tell the same to the guys? Do we tell the same to the guys that say, dude, my king, bro? Like, there's that whole trend of queen, right? Oh, queen, you deserve someone better than that, queen. What about for the guys? That trend of king. Like, king, if she doesn't respect you for who you are, you ain't got to always prove yourself to her buying all this, doing all this, doing. Because guys are also human beings. I want to maybe, if I can have your attention. Guys, I want to talk to the guys. And your life matters as it is right now. Not something you got to prove. Not something you got to do. Get that out of your head. We got responsibilities, absolutely. And I think there's stuff we got to man up for, 100%. But first, you got to understand you're a human being. That there's value in who you are right now. Not who you pretend to be, but who you are. And if you're a father right now listening, if you're a sister, a mother, a girlfriend, you've never told a guy that he's actually valuable, that you respect him, I think it's time to. Because there's a real crisis going on. Crisis that tells guys, you're just a human doing. And if you're not doing anything, you just don't matter very much. I think it's time for a change. It's a time for also men to step up. And if you're not really in this crisis, there's someone that you know that is in this crisis. And you can help them. You can be almost like a spiritual father to them. Because we need fathers. We need intentional fathers. You don't have to be biological father to someone to father someone. You can be like a spiritual father. And I love this because in Psalm 68, verse 5, God is a father to the fatherless, it says. A defender of widows is God in his holy dwelling. So maybe you find yourself in this crisis today. Maybe you find yourself knowing someone in this crisis. Maybe you were like me. You're like, I had no idea the guys were going through this. Man, I did not know either. But statistically speaking, if you know 5 guys, about 2 of them are going through it in some way or another. It's time to treat guys right, as we've learned how to treat girls right. It's time to appreciate guys as human beings, as we've learned to appreciate women as human beings. It's time to end this boy crisis, because we all have a part to do. The first step is realizing that you're not an orphan, that there is a heavenly Father who loves you, who accepts you, and wants to transform you to be the man who he has called you to be. I know this was kind of an intense episode and kind of deep, but I want to encourage you that you have a part to play in ending this boy crisis. So we'll see you in the next episode of The Andrew Ramon Show.